You are listening to
Corona Diaries. Hello and welcome to Corona Diaries. In these podcasts, you'll hear the experiences of EVS volunteers who spent their lockdown in Lisbon. I wanted to offer people the opportunity to reflect on these unprecedented times and create a document of the experiences. With my questions, I sought to encourage reflection on how things had changed and things that people had learnt and how we might move forward from this time. Because in this time we slowed down and the city became quiet. And for those of us who started to work from home, our commute stopped. Meeting those beyond the walls of our houses and encounters with strangers became limited to supermarket runs. And upon this backdrop, didn't bodies and minds speak louder?
You are listening to
Corona Diaries.
Could you introduce yourself a bit? What brought you to Lisbon and what you were doing before?
So I'm Tavi. I'm a European Solidarity Corps volunteer. I've been here for 8 months. I chose to be a volunteer because I've always wanted to do it. I was in the field of youth work for a long time and always knew associations and Erasmus and all that. And right after I finished university, I thought it would be a good idea.
I'm Michele. I'm from Italy. I'm 24 years old. And before to arrive here in Lisbon, I've studied at the University of Verona. I'm graduated with a master's degree on development and training of human resources. And then I decided to do an experience abroad because so this is my first time that I do an experience abroad.
And the field interested me because working in a spin office meant that I could kind of make my own projects. And right now I'm working with videos, editing videos, making illustrations, drawings, and sometimes more social stuff like events too.
I want to do an experience to improve myself, not only like knowledge and skills, but like personal development.
So when the lockdown started, how did things change for you?
Honestly, at the beginning, it wasn't too much hard because I can say that usually I'm not like too much social animal. Like I'm quite used to stay at home. Obviously not so.
I remember being inside the house and feeling like not going a bit crazy, but I could feel that being inside of the same like couple of rooms for a long time, I don't know, it didn't make me feel good for sure.
Then after I think 1 month and a half, it becomes very annoying, and because first of all I become bored. I mean, the routine it becomes very equal every day, every week.
I was reading more and more both social media and just news sites, and it made me feel like the world outside was like there was corona floating in the air, and every single person could be someone who has it. So it made everything look dangerous. I stopped reading any kind of news. And it's funny because I really wanted to stop, and then my mom called me telling me news, and I said, no, please don't tell me anything. Don't.
Did you pick up any new habits or hobbies?
So I've started cooking more because since I'm stuck inside the house I don't go out at night anymore. Then I can focus more on cooking a nice dinner, and the fact that I live with other people too means that I can cook with them.
I started to do something online courses. I started to practice some yoga. I've done a diary. Like every day, I wrote on the diary what was my thoughts, my feelings, what I've done during the day.
I started going for walks a lot more because before I was like, I would only go for a walk if I had somewhere to go to. If I and then if it happened, I had to go to the shoe store, and on the way it just happened that it's kind of pretty outside, and I've never seen this nice building. But now I just go for walks just for the sake of the walk.
The walks by alone around the neighborhood, or maybe a little bit more like far away from home, but not much. And the diaries, I I left since after 1 month because the things that I started to write, there were too much similar every day because every day it was too much similar from the previously one.
What about your communication with either both people here and people from home? Could you talk a bit about that?
I don't like texting that much, so I prefer a lot meeting face to face. So this lockdown, it was pretty hard to me in that respect. Because for example, the people I would normally see in Portugal, the other volunteers, I didn't text, and we only video chatted a couple of times. Because I'd much rather have like a real conversation with them. It's not the same thing. I'm very in touch with the people I'm around, and if I'm not around them, I more or less stop talking to them. I've had a couple of video calls with some other volunteers or some calls. So, and I felt like the conversations were usually superficial. I don't want to say it in a bad way, but we could never either get into deep topics or have such funny conversations.
Obviously, I have more online communication with people. So, for example, even if in Italy I had some friends not from my city, so I never used much like the video call or this stuff. But now I use it more. I'm in contact with them, but only for like special stuff, not deep things, or I'm not in contact with asking properly how are they or how is going in general and especially for the situation, but it's more like for also for stupid stuff. I mean, for funny things and not too much deepest things. The conversation will end it very soon because you have to say quite similar things and a lot of common things like that every people in the earth maybe are saying. So you are like sick of and listen and say these things. And so you just want to talk about other stuff.
We were living 9 people in the same place, and everyone had their own needs of going out. So at the beginning of the lockdown, of the quarantine, there were discussions about what everyone could do. What could we do? Could we go out for walks? Could we see just one friend? And everyone had their different definition. But it created an interesting dynamic because it made people, I don't know, some people wanted to go out more, some wanted to go out less, so it creates friction, and it's interesting.
Maybe the social life will change a little bit. I will need time to get used to the social life, to the normality life, to see people, to have contact, to stay in the same rooms with more people.
There will be a change in how people shake hands, how people stand close to each other, those kind of changes.
It's kind of, I lost how to approach the people in some way. we lost the social distance perception, like how much is good, how much is wrong, how much is my personal space and how much is your personal space.
What's been the hardest thing for you about this time?
Not seeing my friends, for sure. For sure, this time would have been better if there was no corona and I could see my friends as usual, and go for hikes and
The possibility to choose what do you do with your time, the possibility to choose what I want to do with my time, with also with like where I want to go. Maybe the hardest thing to adapt to rules that that you're not used to.
because I can socialize and go for a walk, but I couldn't explore any bars, couldn't go for hikes, couldn't go to events. I would basically do the same things over and over: cook, talk, drink. There wouldn't be much variety.
I miss a lot the possibility to be in contact with the nature.
And I realized how privileged I am, that most people go through a really hard time, and I'm lucky to have a job and like security in a way. And my biggest concern is getting a bit bored.
Could you talk about whether you have learned or discovered anything about yourself in this time?
The most important thing that I discovered is that I miss a lot the social contact. So I think that I thought wrongly that I'm not so social anymore.
Maybe I learned to deal with the fear of missing out better. Now that there's no big parties happening or no big events, I'm not so afraid that I would miss out on something.
I like to do the cleaning works in house. I never thought it before, but I discovered that I like it.
Corona and the quarantine made me see like a weird experiment. But how would the world be like if there were no events, and how would I react? And it's a really interesting thing that I got to experiment in a way. I don't feel like I'm missing out, and I think I can take some of this experience out into the world after social distancing.
Anything that has surprised you in this time?
We needed more personal space from the other people, but at the same time, we reduce the space between people, creates more solidarity. And I didn't expect that people cares so much to the other people in some way. I hope we will continue to have this humanity feelings.
Like cooking. I kind of knew I liked cooking. Just gave me a chance to, actually there is something nice about it. Or having long walks. I knew I liked walking, but just having those longer walks made me realize they're even more important than I thought. So there is nothing totally unexpected. But yeah, I just got to delve deeper into things I already knew I liked.
Was there anything you missed in this time?
I think I will miss a little bit in the future the fact that in this period we had really a lot of time for ourselves.
I think I also miss the empty streets when I'm walking. During the heights of the pandemic, if I went for a walk, like even in the more busy parts of Lisbon, it would be totally empty. And that's surreal almost. I don't know. It's maybe like a tourist. I actually think it's like a tourist paradise. You have the city for yourself.
Any hopes or fears about the future?
The countries for sure will want to be more productive because they need it for the economy. But I think that they wanted to be more productive than they needed. The companies, the countries.
There's not as much pollution. You can hear birds singing in the streets, even in Lisbon. You couldn't hear them before. And that shows the way like how the world would look like if there was less pollution. And to show the people that look, it's actually possible.
The coronavirus and all of the situations are bad things that happen. But also I think that we need kind of in some way this that something happened to us to remind us what we are. We are only humans that needed to survive in this planet, but without pretending that the planet is ours, and without pretending that we need a lot of stuff, a lot of things to live better.
You are listening to
Corona Diaries. Thanks for listening. Tune in next time for some more Corona Diaries.